I'm Angelo Paparelli, and here is my friend and colleague Bernie Wolfsdorf. We're members of the Alliance of Business Immigration Lawyers, and we're going to be offering a series of videos on ways to use the legal employment-based immigration categories to allow people in distressed circumstances, whether they be from Ukraine, Afghanistan, anywhere else. And this also works for people from peaceful lands as well. We're going to show ways under the green card categories, of which Bernie is an expert, so people can come here without having to test the labor market to get a labor certification. This is a more streamlined way. And Bernie, tell us about the various ways that are out there.
Well, thank you, Angelo. It really is a pleasure to be here and to help this particular group. And I'm going to talk about a subset category, often referred to as the best and the brightest. Unfortunately, this doesn't apply to everyone, but to the well-educated and the extremely successful in every area. One of the most wonderful categories that we have is the employment-based first preference category, which by and large has no waiting line whatsoever. And moreover, you can premium process these cases. We just got...
What is premium processing?
Well, thank you. That means you get a decision within 15 days. So we just completed an EB1 employment-based self-sponsored petition from start to finish. They got their green card in exactly 3.5 months, under 100 days. Now, there's not too many categories you can accomplish that, including even marrying an American citizen. So this obviously was for a professor. Quite an outstanding professor. So we have this employment-based EB1 category for the best and the brightest, but I actually want to focus on something a little bit lower because that really is for the top, and that is the second preference national interest waiver category. Mm-hmm. Now here the focus should be in the STEM field, but if you look at the Danassan precedent decision, which you know so well, it's basically focused on what will you contribute to the United States? Are you in a position to make a substantial contribution in your particular field which would benefit the United States? Now, that is so broad. Mm-hmm. And it really does allow people with a master's degree, or even, by the way, a bachelor's plus 5 years of experience in the field, to self-petition without an employer and get a green card. That second category, the NIW national interest, is not as fast. It's going to take 1.5 to 2 years. And again, we do want to see some published material about you. So, you know, if we can show that you've had a major influence in your particular area, it could be in technology, it could be in green energy. But the purpose of this particular focus is to remind people that even in the employment context, you don't always need an employer. You merely have to show that you will prospectively benefit the U.S. Now,
you could have an employer sponsor you as well, or you could have an organization in the background helping you to gain that prominence.
Well, that's always beneficial. It's always beneficial to have the support of an established entity to confirm how you will benefit the United States. But I want to flip to a third option, which quite frankly, as you know, Angelo, is one of my favorites. It's the Green Card Lottery Program, the DV program.
What does that stand for?
A diversity visa. And the idea is that we're going to allow people from anywhere in the world to immigrate to the U.S. And last week, they sent out the winning notices. Over 100,000 people, lucky people, by the way, got a notice in the mail that they've been selected in the U.S. DV Green Card Lottery. And this is from literally every country in the world. And here's the tricky part, of course. There's always a little catch. Of that 100,000, the maximum number who will actually get green cards is 55,000. So once you're selected...
It's sort of like a race.
It's more than a race, Angelo. It's quite sophisticated. You actually probably need some professional help to make sure that you're going to get into the front of the line. But the bottom line is These are categories where the DV program doesn't cost anything. You go to the State Department website, dvlottery.state.gov. Very easy to find. And by the way, if it asks you for money at the end, you're on a scam website. So very important to remember .gov.
So when does the lottery open?
It opens in October, and anybody who is willing or interested in immigrating, doesn't have an employer, there is a requirement, however, that you have to have a high school diploma or sophisticated work experience. But anybody with a high school diploma who is in need of a green card who does not do it is making a big mistake, because this is one of the easiest things to do. You do not need a lawyer to fill out the form. You do not need to pay anybody. And this opens a gigantic door to people from all over the world to be able to live the American dream.
Not to be devil's advocate, but when someone applies for the diversity lottery, doesn't that diminish their chance of getting a visitor or student visa?
Absolutely not. Mary Ryan's decision in
Who is Mary Ryan?
Mary Ryan was the Assistant Secretary of State, and in August 2001, she did determine that lottery is an immigrant petition, but basically saying that non-immigrant visas or such as student or visitor should not be denied merely because but you do need to disclose it, as you've correctly pointed out.
Right.
You do need to disclose it, but you're not going to get denied a green card merely because you participated in a lottery together with 15 million other people. So it's not like you're going to win this, but it sure is a good option for people in need.
Just to wrap up, Bernie, we've been talking about green cards today, and others have been talking about work visas. Is there a way for someone to come into the United States on a work visa and transition into a green card, or do they have to wait outside the U.S.?
Well, that's one of the key things. Because of limited resources at consular posts, the best way to get a green card is from within the United States. And the rules seem to be loosening up on this. The U.S. Immigration Service seems to be almost encouraging people to adjust in the U.S. because of limited resources at consulates abroad. Therefore, giving you a hypothetical situation, if someone does come into the United States on a visitor's visa or a student visa, for example, or any non-immigrant visa, the law generally, other than a visa waiver, the law will generally allow them to change status after 60 to 90 days. So because of limited consular...
Change status to what? I'm not
following.
Change
status to the green card.
Oh, okay, yes.
Change status to the green card.
I thought that was called adjusting of status.
Well, that's the technical term, but for today, we're just going to use the simplistic term. And if somebody comes in as a tourist or even a student, provided that's their main purpose.
Or on a work visa, as we've been talking about throughout these videos.
Or on a general work visa, they can then apply to adjust status, provided there's no backlogged waiting line in that category. But generally, in the first preference for the best and brightest, there's no waiting category. And for most nationalities, under the second preference, national interest waiver, they can adjust status. Even if they win this green card lottery that I was speaking about, they can and should now adjust status. So this provides an enormous opportunity for people, because once they file this application, after a few months, they get a work permit, they get a travel permit, and if you're applying, as I said, under the employment-based first category, that can be done extremely quickly. Mm-hmm. And under the national interest waiver category, it could take a little longer to get a work permit and to get an approval. But I was emphasizing that if you are in the STEM, science, technology, mathematics, engineering, you have a very good chance of being approved. But we do need some press about you. We need to know that you are accomplished in your arena.
But you don't have to apply at any particular time. You can wait until you build up your resume and the visibility of your achievements, and then do it.
Absolutely. And, there's probably more press in the U.S., so people should be encouraged to pursue activities which highlight their activities and their accomplishments is really the correct word. And then the other thing is some of the strategies we will do is we might file one of the second preference categories for somebody from India or China.
I think you're getting a little beyond it.
Oh, that's a
The
little
purpose of
sophisticated, but my point is that you can actually move up in
Yes.
the process from
There are a number of techniques that a seasoned immigration lawyer like yourself can suggest in a personal consultation. But for now, I think we want to thank our listeners and viewers and hope that they can have their minds a little bit opened in the opportunities that can be presented for people in distress from Afghanistan, Ukraine, or anywhere else in the world.
Or one last one I'll mention is in the rare situation of a very high net worth individual, there is, of course, the employment-based fifth preference category.
EB-5, yes.
EB-5 for people who want to start their own business or potentially are able to invest. But in the tragic situations we see today, sometimes even the high net worth and wealthy are required to flee. And of course, there's a special door for them.
Thank you.